So Megan is a client fulfillment and expansion strategist. Megan Huber transforms coaching and education-based companies into world-class group program facilitators who design and deliver unforgettable experiences for their clients. So welcome, Megan. I'm so happy. I know you have so much experience to bring to the table. A lot of this audience, they're already speakers or authors or coaches, and you have been behind the scenes of some major brands and help them build out these structures and systems. So tell me a little bit about your story and what you're passionate about.
Yeah, I'm so excited to dive into this conversation. It's becoming a really hot topic. So my background, how do I get to say why do I get to say I do this and why do I do this? My background is in education. I was a high school teacher. Funny story, I taught at the high school I graduated from, and I am from a very small town in the middle of North Carolina. When I grew up there, we literally had 2,000 people in that town. So it was actually pretty cool to teach at my former high school. And the other part of this story that is also different, my mother, believe it or not, my mother's classroom was right beside mine. And my mom was also my teacher. So I had probably like the greatest mentor that I could have had as a teacher, because my mom was a phenomenal teacher. She got Teacher of the Year all the time. She was in education for 34 years and was also a principal. So I really grew up in a school my entire life. I didn't go to college to be a teacher, though. My degree is in business. And like a lot of young people, when I graduated, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I didn't even know what I was interested in. And I guess my mom must have seen something in me, because she did get it right. She just said, Megan, I think you'd be such a phenomenal teacher. Like, we'll pay for you to go get your master's degree. And I'm like I think I turned 22, and I was like, well, I don't know what else to do. And it just felt like very devastating to me to feel like I didn't have direction or know myself really well. And so I did it. I lived at home. I got my master's degree in teaching. And my mom also encouraged me, as a way to make money, to become a long-term substitute, which I did at this high school. And I taught English for someone who was on maternity leave. And then they hired me the next year. And I loved being a high school teacher. I loved that age. And I also taught for North Carolina Virtual Public School. So I was an online teacher and I was a face-to-face teacher. And this was back in like 2008. We were teaching 80,000 students online. So back then I was learning how to build programs and courses online and teach students who were not right there with you in the classroom. And, granted, they were teenagers. I've learned working with adults now for the last 11 years. I apply everything I used in the classroom with teenagers to how I lead and instruct other people to lead and format and deliver their own group programs, because you still have a group of people who are learners and students in your classroom. So that's my background. And I started my first business when we had our daughter. And then, like you said, I, again, like a lot of people in those first like 1 to 2 years, like struggled to get it going. And I left my business and worked full time for a very well-known, very large scale coaching company, where I built, led, and ran up to 4 or 5 large scale group programs at a time. And we would have, we probably had about 500 clients a year at a time, like across all those programs. And I pretty much single-handedly ran all of that. And then left at the end of 2016 and then rebooted my own business. And, a lot of conversation in the coaching industry over the years has been, I would say, in the category of complaining about the level of service or the level of expertise and the caliber of experience of clients who are purchasing large scale group programs at a very high price point. And, we kind of see like this blame game going on. The coaches and the business owners blame the clients for just not being responsible adults. And then we have the responsible adults blaming the coaches for selling them into something and being a scam artist. And I actually think both are wrong. I disagree with both of those statements. I think what we have on our hands is a lot of well-meaning people who are incredible business owners who are not trained teachers and don't actually understand, because they're not being shown how to structure, format, deliver programs, and then lead people through them so that they are getting results, they're satisfied, and they have a really great experience. And that, to answer your question about what I'm passionate about, it's that right there.
I can feel your passion because you can see it from your teacher lens. And then you're like, teacher, and you two are fighting. You guys just need to learn the structure and go this way. So that's huge. I love what you're saying. And so if someone, a coach or speaker, is leading a mastermind, or they're leading a movement, or they want to expand to have maybe their first 100 clients, they want to really expand, what are some tips and tools you would give them to help them really have their clients have incredible success as well, including, and come back the next year to work with them?
Yeah, I'd say the first thing is, it's recognizing that the way that you led your program and your group of clients through the program, when you had small numbers, like 10 or 15 or 20 or 25, the game changes when you have 100 people, because quite frankly, you just have more. You have more to manage in terms of just numbers of people. You have more energies to manage. You have more learning styles, preferred processing styles, emotions, skill levels, knowledge abilities, like all of that wrapped into one. You just exponentially multiplied that. And for a lot of people, they do it rapidly. Like usually people are experiencing very rapid growth. It's sort of like slow, slow, slow. And then all of a sudden I have 100 people in my program because I cracked the code. And then we have this desire to keep making it bigger and bigger and bigger. So I think the first thing is, you have to get to a level of awareness and recognize first, the way I did things with just a few people is not the way I'm going to be able to do it with 100. And until you have that degree of awareness, nothing really changes. So that's number one. Number two, it is taking into consideration that, hey, just because I had a set of criteria somebody needed to meet and I qualified them before they joined my program, you're still dealing with human beings. And again, I think this is another thing that's really important to remember. Not everybody thinks and operates like I do, like you do, like the leaders of the group. And that's a tough one. That's a really tough one for me too, because I know how I'm motivated. I know how I'm wired. I know how I function. And you just sort of had this idea in your mind, well, everybody functions the way I function. Everybody processes like I do. Everybody learns like I do. Everybody needs the same thing I need. And that couldn't be further from the truth. So you've got a lot of different categories of learners in your program. And I say that because even though you're running a group program and everybody's going through the same type of curriculum and system, you do have to meet people where they're at. And that becomes challenging if it's just you and you've got 100 people. And if you're not meeting people where they're at, and figuring out, hey, what pathway do you need? And it might be a slightly different pathway than Sally. And then Jan needs a slightly different pathway. It's just like in a high school classroom. If I had 30 people in a classroom, don't think that I could teach all 30 of those kids in the same way. You couldn't.
Truly.
You could not. You had to, and I was one teacher. You had to figure out their personality. You had to figure out, and it's in high school, what went on at home that night, the night before, or that morning. Did they come to school hungry? Did they watch mom get beat? Are they failing out of school? Are they playing 3 sports at school and they're in all the AG and academically gifted classes? And oh, by the way, they're in my class. Are they the smartest kid in the school or the least smart kid in the school? Do they have ADHD? Do they have a learning disability? And you've got to figure out how to get all these kids to the finish line. It is no different with adults in our programs. They're just not teenagers.
So good.
Right?
So good.
It's so important to meet them where they're at. And that's going to just change how you lead and structure your whole entire program. That being said, you need people to help you. So you need a support team to help you with that. That would be number 3. And number 4, I probably could give you 40, but I'll stop at 4. Number 4, and I'm going to share this one because when I do consulting in companies, it's the thing that I'm seeing nobody does. And it's collect feedback from your clients. Collect feedback on, how they how they're experiencing all the different elements that you're providing them.
Mhm.
You know, if you're doing Q&A calls, coaching calls, you've got a portal with curriculum in it, you have live events, you have guest teachers, maybe you have them in accountability pods. I don't know. There's lots of different elements to a program, but find out which one of those elements they really enjoy the most. Find out what's working for them. Find out what ideas they have to make your program better. Find out how they're thinking. That's the really big thing. Find out how your people are thinking, what they're struggling with within themselves, because the more data you can collect from your clients, that's actually what you need to inform you on what changes and shifts can we make to our program so that they are more successful, more satisfied, get better results, have a better experience. Because if you can do all four of those things, guess what? They're going to keep buying from you and they're going to buy your other programs. So listening to your clients and having a way to collect it and evaluate it and then follow up on it is
huge.
Super critical.
That's so good. I mean, and you and I have been in, at least I've been in the coaching industry. I've been a coach since 2005. So I'm on my 18th year, and I know you're on your 10th-ish year, maybe more. Yeah. And I've seen a lot of brands come and a lot of brands go. I've seen empires expand and then literally gone, and they're gone. It's like, I don't know if they had a midlife crisis. I don't know what's happened to these people, but they quit their business. And I feel your heart for the coaching industry as an industry to get better and help people improve so that you're not seen as a scam artist, or you don't buy into a group program where you don't get the ROI because the coach didn't understand you at all. So I'm loving this. I feel like this is real, and people don't talk about it. Like I remember hearing some self-development thing, and they were saying, never call yourself a teacher, because you know what? Teachers get paid nothing.
Yeah.
Like, don't be called, you're a coach, you're a leader, you're not a teacher. And so I love that you're bringing forth your gifts of being a teacher and seeing how to meet the client in the group where they are. It's super powerful.
Yeah, it is. And, and I get that. I get what you're saying, because teachers, I mean, when I was a teacher, my take home pay, so this is what was literally going in my bank account, it was around $2,000 a month. That's not a lot, right?
You don't do it for the money.
No, you don't. And we do have the opportunity as entrepreneurs and as coaches and leaders in this space, we do have the opportunity to make a lot of money. It's kind of unlimited. You can make as much money as you want. You really can.
Right.
And I think we just have to change the meaning of teacher. When you decide to transition from just working with people one-on-one to now offering groups, and potentially lots of different groups, whether it's a group, a certification, a mastermind, or a membership, right? It's, you do have to develop a new set of skills. It's not just coaching. You're not just coaching those people. You are coaching them and you're teaching them, because you are developing some degree of curriculum. You are leading, you are mentoring, and ultimately you are facilitating. And that's a number of new skills that you have. Oh, by the way, you're also building a team. So I get the crunchiness. It's a really challenging part of someone's business when they are going through like very rapid growth and expansion in terms of client enrollment. Because everything that you're now having to do, it's all brand new. You've never done it before. It's a lot of new territory. And you put all those dynamics together, plus building a team and hiring and leading and training, and you're trying to take care of all your clients at the same time and continue to sell. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I think people just get very, very overwhelmed. Yeah. And I think part of what has happened in our industry is that, I know you'll really get this, there is this kind of like allure and almost assumption that you're supposed to present yourself and your life and how everything is going in a very certain way. Because if you don't, people literally fear, if anybody knew what it was really like behind the scenes, or that I still have imposter syndrome, or like, I literally don't know what the heck I'm doing, nobody would buy from me. People would think of me very differently. I think that's a lot of it. I think that this is a conversation that isn't talked about, because there is this assumption that like, well, you should present like you have it all together. Why would people want to come join your program if it was a mess behind the scenes? And even peers don't even talk about this to each other.
Right.
Not much.
You know, what I find is when I share a vulnerable life moment, I get more feedback on a post like that. But I come from it from a place of being healed, not using my audience to help be my therapist or my journal. Yeah. But there is, I think you're making a good point. And maybe those really glossy brands and these people in this perfection, it's that. So I think the takeaway I'm hearing from you is, if you're listening, don't build your brand and image all around perfection and glossiness and non-relatability.
Yeah. So, I mean, people will tell me they're afraid to reach out to me to have me come in and consult with them, because when I, and this is the reason why I shifted from like largely coaching to consulting, because I knew I needed to see, you had to give me access to everything. I need to see the curriculum, talk to the team members. I interview your clients. Like, you literally have to show me everything, regardless of whether you think it's a mess or not. But I'm coming from a very different perspective. I was trained to do this. I have a master's degree in this. I ran programs that had hundreds of people in it. Like, I coach tennis. Like, I've been doing this for 18 years. I've been trained to do it. You haven't, right? So I don't have any judgment. I want to see the mess. I want to see what's working, what's not working. I want to see all the parts and pieces of it, because what I get to do is my zone of genius. And I literally am like a mad scientist over here, literally behind my computer, excavating and looking at everything. Cool. And when I have all that data, I call it data, it actually informs me on everything that I would have this person in business do. And it's never the same. It's always slightly different based on what's actually going on inside the company. And I like to say, I kind of give people their lives back, because what they're not presenting is how stressed out, exhausted, tired, burned out, all the things that they really are behind the scenes that they're not telling anyone about, but they're slowly dying on the inside. And, you know, the thing that I also, before we press record, I actually started my conversation with you like this when we were catching up. Yeah. I see a lot of people who are starting to get health problems. A lot of health stuff is going on, but they're not telling anybody. They're not telling anybody that stuff.
Yikes. Yeah. I think that there's so much pressure, and then it's isolating because then they're alone. And then especially if a coach is going to expand from, maybe they were, like in my case, in my town, I have a master's degree. I was a social worker, and then I was a yoga teacher. And so all your friends are in that vibe. And then you go and you expand and you grow and you grow, and then you can't even relate. So like, you don't have people to talk to. So it's really important. I love this niche that you're in. I love how you're finding a problem, a needle in a haystack of what these big coaching empires need, or those that are growing into expansion. I think a lot of coaches, when they're afraid to even go big, because they're afraid of like all these problems you're coming up with, like, it's overwhelming. So they subconsciously hold back.
Well, like, let's be honest. You and I both have had experience just having a business that's just one-on-one, right? Like, usually that's what we do when we start. And you and I have both had businesses where it's a group program-based model. From my experience and from my observation, if you want it to be easy, stick with one-on-one. People like, what we're sold and told is that the group model is so much easier, and you're going to have all this time and yada, yada, yada. Maybe it takes you years to get there though. The thing that people don't realize until they get into it is the group model, by nature, it comes with a lot of complexity. It comes with that. So you don't have to create complexity. It's just going to be there, and it's going to sit in your lap, and it doesn't go away. And people don't realize that when they shift to a group model, and then they become fantastic at generating leads and keeping that pipeline full and having multiple 6 and 7 figure launches. Well, you got to remember, you've got 50 or 100 or 200 or however many clients all joining at the same time. Equals complexity in so many different ways. So many operations, finances, team, client delivery. There's a lot of complexity with that. And again, most people are not equipped. They don't have the knowledge or the skills to be able to drive that and lead that and manage that and nurture that. And I think that's one of the reasons, and I don't think it's the only reason. I think that's one of the things that's leading people to just want to burn it all down and just literally like close up shop and start something completely different, because they were sold a bill of goods that it was going to be easy when you switch to that model, and they realized it's not.
Yeah, it's only harder. It's so everything's harder with multiplication because you're dealing with people.
Yeah.
You're dealing with people and their emotions and their everything. So I love what you're saying about the different learning styles and creating individual processes and getting the feedback from the client. Because once you have that, like I've done that when I was building my program, and some people I like to do these long guidebooks because it helps me focus and give the structure, where they want. And one client was like, I only want bullet points. Another one was like, I just want audible. And the other one's like, I'm dyslexia, dyslexia, and I can't read any of this, and I don't want to do any of your guidebooks. So can you just tell me personally? So client success is really important. Really quick, I want to ask you, do you actually, when you get your client feedback, do you do like a weekly assessment form or a quarterly or just an end of the contract, or what do you do?
So a couple of things. So feedback and accountability are two different things. So feedback is literally like you're collecting information to determine a few things. You're checking to see how satisfied your clients are with all the elements of the program. You are getting their feedback on what else would they like to see. Like you're really helping them assess the actual program and the experience. Let's just say a program is a year long. I would recommend collect feedback. You want to collect feedback pretty soon after the onboarding process is done, because usually in a 12-month program, the onboarding process is more than a call. So I would say like start collecting feedback from people the first time about 45 to 60 days in, because if they are unhappy, you can catch it, and you can catch it a whole lot earlier, and you can turn the ship around if you can catch it in the first 90 days. Then I would say like collect feedback every 90 days from them. The other thing you start asking them in feedback it pretty early on is, what do you plan on doing next? Are you going to exit our program altogether? Are you going to do it again? Do you want to work with us in another way? Are you going to join XYZ program if you've got an ascension model? One of the big mistakes people make with feedback or renewals is they wait until like the month the contract is up to find out what the client wants to do next. And you lost them in the first 90 days. Like people are deciding very early on. Yeah. So you go ahead and find out that information. So that's feedback. In terms of like tracking clients and collecting their progress, tracking if they're hitting their goals, helping keep them accountable to what they said they were going to do. I'm a really big believer of weekly. And that's just going to look different based on what your program is all about. If it's business-based, health, relationship, faith-based, what you're collecting, or based on the promise of your program. You know, I do a lot of third-party interviews, and it doesn't matter whose clients I'm interviewing. I'll tell you the top 3 things I hear that people feel like is missing from the programs they're buying. Number 1 is accountability. And beyond accountability, it's follow up on the accountability measures that you're using. So you're asking clients to submit information about their progress and results, but then you're never touching it. They don't like that at all. And most clients, even your smartest, most successful clients, really thrive when they have accountability in place. Accountability is not the same thing as codependency. It's not the same thing as handholding. It's very different. So I hear that
right there.
Yep. I hear there's a lack of structure, and they want more structure in programs. And I hear there's a lack of community. And
interesting.
That's a shocking one, because we think, well, we're in a group. We're meeting on Zoom every week. We have a Facebook group. That does not equal your clients feeling a sense of belonging or feeling connected to their peers. What causes someone to stay in your ecosystem is that connection they have with their peers. If they feel like they're getting value from being friends with each other, from sharing
Right.
what's working, what's not. And I'm always so surprised when I see in someone's program, I'm surprised, but I'm also not, because this is facilitation skills, where they have no element of the program where the clients are actually learning from each other. It's not
Right.
being facilitated. And people just don't even think about it because they think, well, the clients just want to learn from me. They came here because they want my genius. But what they actually want is they want to connect and learn from each other equally or more than they want to learn from you. People come into programs because they want results. They will stay in the program and keep coming and participating because they're getting results. They will stay in your ecosystem because of community, not because of the past results they got. And I see people leave programs all the time who got great results, but they didn't feel a sense of community because it was never facilitated from day one. And you have to facilitate it from the very first day. We forget that again, I always go back to, I taught high school kids, adults are no different. You have to facilitate connection among peers. Adults, especially groups of adult women, they're not going to go create community by themselves. They do not, even though you think they do, they don't. They just don't.
Interesting. So how would you on day one create that community?
So if you're going to do, which I highly recommend you do, some sort of group welcoming, onboarding, orientation, get to know you, whatever kind of call, where you're not actually teaching anything. You're not just coaching people. You have some sort of tools or mechanism or prompts or questions where the clients are actually getting to know each other. And depending on the size of your group, the biggest thing to remember is that especially women, even successful women like me and you, we don't feel safe on day one when we hop on Zoom and there's 48 other faces or 208 other faces looking at us, because guess what a woman is doing?
Judging.
We immediately think everybody's looking at us.
Right.
And we think everybody is assessing us, and we think everybody is judging us. And then we're comparing ourselves to everybody else's hair and makeup and lighting and background. And that all those thoughts are going through our mind at warp speed.
Yeah.
And then if you're an introvert, like I'm an introvert, if I see the super talkative people, I start to retreat back a little bit, even though like I love to talk, clearly I love to talk, but I'm not the one that's just going to pipe up on the mic without like raising my hand first. And so when I see that, I'm like, okay, I'm trying to figure out. Women are assessing where we belong. We're trying to assess where we fit in. We're trying to assess our status. We're trying to assess like, where are we on this hierarchy? It's going through every single woman's mind and body, whether they're doing it consciously or subconsciously. A lot of people, most people do not feel safe in that moment. I'm one of those people. Now I will be your star student, but you have to help me feel safe. Okay. Where do I feel safe? Put us in breakout rooms with 5 people. You won't get me to shut up because I feel safe talking in an intimate setting. So you help people like one of the things you could do, you know, in that initial setting, it's like, there's levels of safety. So like one level of safety is like, everybody raise your hand if you're like, I'm going to make this up. Everybody raise your hand if you are super excited about being here. So nobody has to talk. Everybody just raises their hand. And now we all feel like we're a little bit more connected, and it's safe to actually like raise our hand. And you can just, you know, sort of warm people up, put them in breakout rooms, make them like do something funny with each other. They introduce themselves. Like it's got to be a little humorous. Come back, talk about it. Like something like that, where people are getting to use their voice. Because if I'm on a group call on day one with 20 other people and I am not prompted to speak, I will be one of those people who doesn't speak. I will be one of those people. Right. But remember what I said, I'll also be your star student.
Yep.
I just need a little bit of, I need a little something. And I'm a highly successful woman.
Right.
So you can't sit here and say, oh, she's just self-sabotaging herself.
Right.
No, you just don't know how to work with me.
Yep.
Because
So
you didn't
good.
get to know me. Guess what I'm doing in my mind? I'm thinking this isn't the group for me.
I'm backing
Even
out.
if it's 12 months long. And
Right.
I'm starting to think, maybe I didn't make a good decision. And I'm
Right.
starting to think like, I'm probably not going to stay here once my year is up. And now I'm someone who honors my financial commitments. So I'll stay and I'll pay and I'll get what I can. But very early on, if that is my experience, I'm out.
True. That's so good. And you can see, like, as a group host or mastermind host, you can see the people. Yeah, it's really cool because the more they pay, the more they pay attention. The more they pay attention, but the more they pay attention with their words and they play with you and they act with you, the more they'll pay attention and the more they'll pay.
Yes.
So it makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's fun because, like, I'm thinking of this as like a mixer. And I think, like, if we were in person, it would be really easy. But on Zoom, it's like, you could just go on audio and then you don't have those bonds. And I'm a big fan of bringing people together in community, like a retreat or in person if possible.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll give you an example of this. So
yeah.
I was on a call yesterday, actually, and I just graduated a 14-week course. And then you've got like a lot of different options of what you can join next. And so one of the options, I decided to work with this person privately. So I just automatically get like the monthly membership thing. And there were about 30 of us on the call. Maybe 15 of us, it was our first call though, with this other group. And the way that she started the call, she didn't teach anything. She didn't do this big, long welcome. Within the first 3 to 4 minutes, she had us in breakout rooms of 5. And you know what we had to do in our breakout rooms? They gave us 10 minutes to figure out 5 things that all of us had in common.
Oh, that's fun.
And it was sort of a competition because then we had to come and share. And then she's going to pick like who was like the, whatever. You didn't want to do like boring stuff like, oh, we all have a set of teeth or we all wear glasses. Like that's really boring. And so, but you got to know each other so fast. And so you're laughing, you're having fun. It's your guards coming down. Then we all go back in the Zoom room and immediately on day 1, you literally feel connected to everybody in the room.
That's genius right there. I'm doing a highlighter on that.
You have such a desire. It's like, and then people are asking like, can we have accountability pods in the membership? And she's like, well, I'm not going to put you guys in accountability pods, but like, why don't you go meet each other? Why don't you establish your own accountability? And I'm already like, I want these 4 or 5 people to be my accountability pod. This is the introvert talking. See what I mean? Yes. You don't engage me in a small group like that, where I'm getting to know people and they're getting to know me. I'm going to go back here. But if you do that with me, I was like, hey, ladies, let's be as raunchy as we can be because I like competition and I want to win. Right? Because of how she's facilitating getting to know each other. And now you're hooked. And now it's like, these are my people. I'm not going anywhere. That's how you want your clients to feel on day 1.
That's good. And I like what you said is these 15 of them were new and like 30 others had been there, they're seasoned.
Yes. Yep.
That's a great way to bring, because a lot of times I've been on a new client and I'm on and everyone's just talking and I'm like, I don't dare say anything, even though that's not my personality. So that's really good. Gosh, Megan, you have so many tips. Got any more? One last one for the road?
One last one for the road. Okay. So this is for the people who have like an awesome, like bigger business where you've got like, let's say you have like an ascension model, right? Like we'll just use some terminology here. Like you have your flagship and now you've just gotten so big, like you've got all these other layers and all these other programs. Think long-term with your clients. So the reason why I say I'm also an expansion strategist is you want to think, how can I expand the lifetime value of my client? You don't just want all your clients to buy one offer from you and then never buy anything else. I have a different perspective though. I'm not just thinking in marketing and sales terminology of like, get them in and then get them in at this low price point and then sell them the next tier and sell them the next. Great. Like, awesome. If that's how you do it, that's great. But I'm thinking of the client perspective and the client side. Figure out as soon as a client comes into the first program they buy, put everybody on a client success plan. Find out why they joined, find out why they joined, not why you think they joined, which is to get the promise of your program, because not everybody joins to get the result that you're promising. People join for other reasons. Find out why they joined, find out their specific goals, find out their specific gaps. track that in your program. Identify other problems you can help them solve from your other programs. Update the client success plan. If you treat your clients like that, and you can't do that by yourself, you have to have team members who help you do that. The industry that does this really well is software. They started doing client success in the 90s, like 1995, 1996 is when that really started. The coaching industry is very behind. We should be the leaders. We should be the leaders in client success. So if you want to have like this ascension model and really expand and truly scale, what's going to be more profitable for you is not just focusing on new. It's focusing on keep. You have to know how to keep your clients happy, satisfied, and getting results. And I don't think I've worked with one person who had people on a client success plan because they think it's going to take too much and they can't have all these people on these customized plans. Yeah, you can actually, you can, and you will be highly profitable when you do.
It's funny because when I was a health coach, I had little success plans like that because I had just come out of social work where we had a treatment plan. So I had this onboarding form and then a tracker, which people were really successful. How do you track it? Do you use Google Docs? Do you use a certain software? What do you like to use to do? I know you have it's like a treatment plan. Yeah. And then how do you track it weekly?
Yeah. So it just depends. It just depends on what platforms you're already using and what your team looks like, I'd say, and what you prefer and how simple or how complicated you want it to be. I'm a really big fan of old school Google Docs. I love Google folders and Google Docs and having documents on everybody. The key is whatever platform you use, your entire team must have access to it and know all the information about every single one of your clients. One of the biggest complaints I hear from clients when I do third-party interviews, they dislike it when they talk to different team members and they have to catch the team member up to speed. All that should be documented. Every time you have a touch point with a client as a team member, there should be a place where you go and you fill in whatever they said. And that can just be a Google Doc. It could be a Google Doc. Right. In terms of like tracking client success, like Google Sheets. Google Sheets or Google Forms. It's really easy.
Exactly. I love that. That's so good. Oh my gosh. I took so many notes and now I need to go and I want everyone to come and do what I'm doing and just take notes. What are your biggest key takeaways and what are you going to take action on? Because you gave us so much and I know you have a free gift and I know you have a podcast yourself. So share with us your free gift and how we can keep connected with you.
Yeah. Out of all those takeaways, pick one, like just pick one of those and go do it and run with it. My podcast is called Built to Last.
That's good.
And I have 2 episodes a week. One is solo, and I mostly talk about the stuff that we just talked about. It's a lot of that on my solo episodes. And you're going to be on my show as well. So we'll have a lot to talk about. And I do an interview style, conversation style as well. So Built to Last. And you can find me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn at Megan J. Huber. And then if you want to download a free gift, I have a 5-part video series that is called Group Coaching Mastery. And I believe it also comes with a workbook that you can work through. And Group Coaching Mastery it's really teaching like how to structure, format, and properly deliver group programs. It's not about the marketing and the sales and the launching of the group. It's like, how do I actually design this thing? So whether you're transitioning into groups or you've had a group for 10 years, it's great.
That sounds so good. And where do we get it? Did you meganjhuber.com?
meganjohnsonhuber.com. And I'll also send you a link that goes directly to that.
Okay. Thank you. So good. I got so much out of this. It's super valuable. And I honestly love this interview. It's been one of my favorites. So thank you.
I'm so glad. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, guys. I will see you next week on the show. Thanks for showing up and thank you for supporting Megan. And we'll see you next week. Bye.